Okay, so the All Blacks have made their selection for the upcoming round 3 game in the Rugby Championship against the Wallabies this weekend in Melbourne, Australia. In this video, I'm going to go through that selection, give my analysis, and ask you for yours. Hello and welcome to Inside Rugby. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for joining me with another video. I'm going to be here all the way through the remainder of the Rugby Championship, then the warm-up games leading into the World Cup, and then the World Cup itself. So make sure you stick around this channel. Okay, we've got a big clash coming up this weekend in Melbourne in Australia at the mighty MCG. Over 80,000 fans are going to be packed into the MCG to watch the All Blacks take on the Australian Wallabies in the first of 2 matches in this year's Bledisloe Cup series and the remaining round 3 match in the Rugby Championship. So there's a couple of things on the line this weekend, and I'm sure that played into the selection of this All Black team. Now, if you're not familiar with the traditions in All Black Wallaby rugby, the All Blacks play against the Wallabies every year for what's called the Bledisloe Cup, and the Wallabies have not won the Bledisloe Cup in over 20 years. So the All Blacks want to keep that trend going, and I'm sure a lot of that played into the selection of the All Black team for this weekend from Ian Foster and his crew. The first game is being played in Melbourne in Australia. The second game will be played in Dunedin in New Zealand in a week's time. But this game is also the final round of this year's Rugby Championship competition, so there's a few things on the line. Now, a lot of interest was going into this All Black selection because one wasn't to know whether the All Blacks were going to go for a full-on strength team or whether they were going to do a few experiments in a few key positions. But I can tell you by looking at the team, it seems as though they've gone with the tried and tested. So let's have a look at the team, and we start off in the forwards in the tight 3, and we've got Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax making up the front row. And I think a really good combination here. These 3 guys have been playing very, very well, and I suspect this will be the All Blacks front row going into the World Cup, barring any injury. So a very, very strong front row there, and I don't think anybody would argue that this is probably the All Blacks' best front row. Now in the second row we've got Scott Barrett and Brodie Retallick, and if you've been following along rugby recently, you'll know that Sam Whitelock has been suffering from a Achilles injury, and the All Black selectors have been a little bit cautious about bringing him back into game time, and you'll find out later on in this video that he will feature in this game, but they're obviously looking after him moving forward towards the Rugby World Cup. Scott Barrett's been playing, I think, extraordinarily well this season in the black jersey and deserves to get a run-on position along with Brodie Retallick, one of the talismans of the All Black forwards over the last years, and playing really, really good rugby as well. So 2 of what I think are the 2 informed locks in world rugby right now, Scott Barrett and Brodie Retallick. Then we have a look at the back 3 for the All Blacks, and this is where some of the changes come into the team for this weekend. First of all, we've got Shannon Frizzell, who deserves to be in the team. He was the one that had that cracker 20 minutes against the Springboks 2 weeks ago in Auckland. He made a couple of dynamic breaks. He was also good in defence, and he really set up a lot of that play in the first 20 minutes for the All Blacks. So Shannon Frizzell gets his go in the flanker position this weekend. Now Sam Cane is injured. He got a neck injury in the last game, so he's been put on the sideline for this particular game, and that means we have a new captain and we have a new flanker in the team, and that's Dalton Papali'i. So Dalton comes in to take over Sam Cane's position, and I'm quite happy about this. I think Dalton's a fantastic player and gets his opportunity to start for the All Blacks this weekend. Ardie Savea takes on the number 8 role as always and is going to be the captain of the All Blacks this weekend. So a very good pack for the All Blacks. Let me know what you think. Do you think the All Blacks have nailed it with this particular pack? And we'll talk about those forwards that are going to be on the bench later on in this video. Now taking a look at the backs, and were the selectors going to take any risk or any opportunities with it playing in some new players here in the backs? Well, first of all, we've got Aaron Smith and Richie Mo'unga in the halfback and first 5 positions, so pretty much stock standard there. And it looks like now Mo'unga is getting that 10 jersey all to himself, and they're going to start to build some consistency around him and Aaron Smith. Moving on to the inside centres, and the selectors have gone with Geordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane, and good selection again a solid selection. These guys have been playing really well both in offence and defence, and again I think this is another signal that the All Black selectors are looking for consistency in that midfield. And these two guys are really good at line breaks. They're both fast and they're both strong as well, so very, very good in defence. So that was a pretty much anticipated selection, I think, for the centre pairing in this game against the Wallabies. Heading out to the wing, and of course Will Jordan has to be in this team. He's playing exceptional rugby, and now that he's back for his second game in the Rugby Championship, he looks like he's going to be consolidating his position. You know, of course he can be selected in the All Black fullback position as well, but he's on the wing for this game. And on the other wing, we've got Mark Philpott coming in. So interesting selection here, and a good selection, I think. Mark Philpott is a really, really good player. Played fantastic in the Super Rugby Series this year, and he gets another start for the All Blacks this weekend. Beauden Barrett at fullback, and there we have it. That's the run-on 15 for this weekend's clash against the Wallabies. So I think the All Black selectors are going with the premise that they want to win this first Bledisloe Cup game. They're putting in a very, very strong team to start off with, a run-on team that would probably go into a Rugby World Cup run-on team, except for Sam Whitelock and Sam Cane missing. And I think they want to win against the Wallabies in this first Bledisloe Cup game, because then that's going to give them a little bit of freeway to look at what they can do in Dunedin in the second game that's coming up in a week's time. So the All Blacks bench is a very strong one as well. They've gone with a 5-3 combination, pretty much like what the Springboks are doing against Argentina this weekend. So the All Blacks have selected Takiaho, Tuangafasi, Lalala, Sam Whitelock and Luke Jacobson as their forward replacements for this weekend's game. Good to see Jacobson in the team there. As I said about Sam Whitelock, I think we're going to get a strong 40 minutes out of him, barring any injuries in the first half. And the tight three are fantastic players as well that can come on and really making a difference. So I think Jason Ryan's getting these guys up at forward training, and we want to see a more dynamic and energized replacement bench coming on for the All Blacks to compete in that last 20 minutes. And let's see whether we can get back to days of old when we saw the All Blacks actually taking games away for oppositions in that last 20 minutes. That hasn't been happening for a while. It's been a topic of conversation across the rugby world, and other teams are really starting to notice it. So those tight five that are coming in off the bench should make a good impact this weekend. Looking at the back replacements, Cam Roygaard gets his opportunity coming off the bench. I think this guy brings something different for the All Blacks at half. He's been playing really, really well in Super Rugby, and I think this is an opportunity for him to show that different style of play that he has, and this is going to be a chance in a tight, decisive game against the Wallabies to do that. Anand Lennon-Brown is back from suspension. He's been out for a few games, and he's back now to give him an opportunity to show the selectors what he's got. Of course, he's been a good player for the All Blacks in the past, but there's some very tight competition in that centre pairing at the moment, with Barrett and Ioane playing very, very well. Caleb Clark is the last player making up the 23 this weekend, and I think that's the right call also from the All Blacks, having Clark to come on in the second half and to try to inject some pace and some brutality out there on the wing. So I think it's a pretty damn strong selection from the All Blacks. They've gone with the tried and tested. There are not going to be any experiments really this weekend. We're going to have to wait and see whether that happens in Bledisloe 2 match, which is going to be played in Dunedin against the Wallabies. But I think for this weekend, it's a pretty tight team. Now, I've said in a previous video that I think this game could be closer than a lot of people are expecting. I think the Wallabies are going to come out on fire. They've got a lot to prove. Eddie Jones has a lot to prove. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen this weekend. There's going to be over 80,000 people packed into the MCG in Melbourne. It is a fantastic sporting venue. And if you've never been to the MCG for a sporting venue in your life, put it on your bucket list, because it is something extraordinary to experience. And of course, we had that thrilling game there last year against the Wallabies, and between the All Blacks and the Wallabies, with the All Blacks scoring in that last minute to snatch a win away from the Wallabies. And that's going to be something that sits in the memories of the Wallabies that are playing this weekend, and I'm sure Eddie Jones is going to be reminding his team of that. So I expect a close encounter. I do expect an All Black win this weekend. And looking at my poll on my community page, and if you haven't checked out the community page on this channel, please do that. You'll see that most of the people are expecting an All Black victory against the Wallabies. So the Wallabies and the All Blacks this weekend. The All Blacks can tie up the Rugby Championship for 2023. They can also put the Bledisloe Cup out of reach of the Australians by beating the Wallabies in Melbourne. So now we just got to see what's going to happen. So tell me what you think. Drop me a comment and tell me what you think of this All Black selection to take on the Wallabies this weekend. Has Ian Foster and the crew got this one right, in your opinion? Is the bench that you expected that would be coming on in this particular game? And what are the names that are missing? Damien McKenzie, Sean Stevenson, not there in the All Blacks. Is this sending a signal to them? Be really interested to hear what your views are. And do you think the All Blacks are going to get up against Australia this weekend, or do you think there is going to be an upset and the Wallabies are going to get home in this Bledisloe and Rugby Championship game? That's it for me from another video. I'm going to be here all weekend looking at these games that are in the Rugby Championship. We also have a Rugby World Cup warm-up game happening this weekend between Scotland and Italy, and I'll be covering that one as well. So stay tuned here to the Inside Rugby channel, and if you want to, just hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a lot, and I'll see you again really soon. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and enjoy your rugby, everyone. Bye for now.